Welcome to another deep dive. This time we're looking into the murder of Christa Worthington.
Oh yeah, this one's got quite a story.
Yeah, it does. I mean, a glamorous fashion writer who ends up murdered in a quiet town like Truro.
Truro.
Yeah, on Cape Cod.
Cape Cod, yeah.
Yeah,
No Truro. Beautiful place, very peaceful.
right. That's what makes this case so intriguing, this contrast between her life in fashion and the peacefulness of Truro.
You've got some articles about it, right?
Yeah, you bet. Seems like you're pretty interested in this one, too.
Well, who wouldn't be? The whole thing is just so strange.
Yeah, exactly. So we'll take a look at what happened, try to get to the bottom of it all.
Sounds good to me.
Well, for starters, Truro is this beautiful, idyllic town.
Mm.
Beaches, dunes, it's like a picture postcard.
Right, and then suddenly, bam, a brutal murder. It's kind of jarring, isn't it?
Totally. And then you've got Christa, this successful fashion writer.
Yeah.
She's rubbing shoulders with the likes of Yves Saint Laurent.
Yves Saint Laurent, wow.
And then she decides to leave all that behind for a quieter life in Truro.
With her daughter.
Yeah, little Ava. She was just 2 years old when it all happened.
Must have been a huge change, going from the world of high fashion to being a single mom in a small town.
It was. And it makes her murder even more tragic. She was trying to build a new life, and then it's all taken away.
So how was she killed?
She was stabbed.
Oh.
Multiple times.
Jabbed. Oh my.
It was January 2002. Her ex-boyfriend, Tim Arnold, he found her body.
God, that's awful. So the ex-boyfriend, he's got to be a suspect, right?
Oh, yeah. Right away, he was on the radar. And then there was Ava's father, Tony Jackett.
Jacket.
Yeah. They had an affair, and he was married at the time, so things were complicated.
Right, a love triangle. Always adds a layer of intrigue.
Absolutely. But the investigation actually went way beyond them. They looked into Jackett's son-in-law, even Christa's elderly father, and his much younger girlfriend.
Whoa, they really cast a wide net.
They did. It seemed like they were grasping at straws.
Yeah.
But then DNA evidence comes in, and boom, it clears all those initial suspects.
What? Seriously?
Yep. Talk about a twist.
So if it wasn't them, then who was it?
That's the million-dollar question. And imagine living in Truro at that time, The killer could be anyone.
Yeah, that's got to be scary. A killer on the loose.
It was terrifying. They actually ended up doing a town-wide DNA sweep.
A town-wide sweep. Wow, never heard of that before.
It was unprecedented. Can you imagine? Suddenly everyone's a suspect.
Must turn the town upside down.
It did. For 3 years, the case went unsolved, and Truro was consumed by this mystery. Everyone speculating, looking over their shoulders.
3 years. That's a long time. Did they ever find the killer?
They did. In 2005, DNA evidence finally pointed to a guy named Christopher McCowan.
McCowan. Who's he?
A local garbage collector. He was in and out of Truro collecting trash, but he wasn't really on anyone's radar at first.
A garbage collector. Interesting.
Yeah, it's like he was hiding in plain sight. And that's when the case takes a whole new turn.
How so?
Well, McCowan admits to having had an encounter with Christa, but says it was consensual.
Consensual, but she was murdered.
Exactly. He denied any involvement in her death.
So now it's a case of he said, she said.
Right. We've got conflicting accounts, unclear evidence, and a whole lot of questions.
Sounds like a real puzzle. Did they ever figure out the truth? So consensual,
Yeah.
but she was murdered.
Yeah, and that's what makes this case so tricky. Did she let him in? Or was this something more sinister?
It just adds so many layers.
Yeah.
Conflicting stories, the crime scene.
Exactly. I mean, think about the people of Truro. They finally have a suspect, but it's not that simple.
I bet they were just confused. Relieved, maybe, but still unsure.
Oh, yeah, big time. And the articles we have, they really show how this whole thing divided the town.
Divided. How so?
Some folks, they were convinced McCowan did it. Others, they thought he was being set up.
Makes sense, I guess. Small town, big crime, everyone's got their theories.
It's true. And, Truro, they really prided themselves on being this peaceful place.
Right. A haven, kinda.
Yeah, and then this murder happens, and it's like everything changes. They're in the spotlight, and not for good reasons.
It's like this case forced them to confront a side of their town they didn't want to see.
Exactly. It's more than just a whodunit, It's about this small town, how they deal with trauma, the aftermath, all of it.
I get it. Makes you think about how no place is truly immune to these things, no matter how perfect it seems.
Absolutely. And the impact on Truro, it was huge. Their image, their reputation, it all took a hit.
I bet. It's like a scar, right?
Yeah.
A reminder of what happened.
Yeah, definitely. And we can't forget about the human cost either. Christa, her life was cut short.
And Ava, she was just a baby. To lose her mother like that.
It's just heartbreaking. The articles talk about her story, and, it's clear this tragedy really shaped her life.
Makes you think about the ripple effects of something like this. It's not just about the immediate victim.
You're right, you're right. But getting back to McCowan, he went on trial despite his claims of, it being consensual,
Yeah.
guilty. 2006, convicted, sentenced to life without parole.
Wow, so they got him. Case closed.
Well, not exactly. A lot of people weren't happy with the verdict.
Really? Why not?
They felt the evidence was weak. Circumstantial mainly.
Mm-hmm.
And there were whispers about racial bias, during the investigation and the trial.
Ah, I see. So not as clear-cut as it seemed.
Nope. The way the whole case was handled, it just raised more questions for some.
I can see that. Did anything in particular stand out, about the trial itself?
Well, there were some concerns about the DNA evidence.
DNA. What about it?
How it was collected, analyzed, all that. Seemed like there were some inconsistencies.
Uh-oh. That's never good.
It really made people wonder if they had the right guy.
Makes sense. You need to be sure, especially with a case like this.
Right. It's not just about finding someone to blame. It's about justice, about getting it right.
And with all the doubt surrounding McCowan, who knows if they did? It makes you wonder, doesn't it? I mean, did they actually get the right guy?
Yeah, that's the question that sticks with you, even all these years later. And it's kind of why we're so fascinated by true crime, right?
Totally, totally. We want answers, but we also want justice. And in this case, well, it's murky.
It really is. And amidst all the mystery, the twists and turns, it's easy to forget about the real people involved.
Yeah, Christa, her life cut short,
Yeah.
and little Ava growing up without her mother. It's just tragic.
It is, and it makes you think about the bigger picture, too. The impact this case had on Truro.
When I was reading through these articles, something kept popping into my head. It's like this case revealed something about Truro, something hidden beneath the surface.
Oh, yeah. What do you mean?
Well, they had this image, right? Peaceful, tight-knit community. But then this brutal murder happens, and it's like that image shattered.
I see what you're saying. Force them to face a darker reality.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. And I wonder if Truro has truly moved on,
It's a good question. Some folks, they probably just want to forget it ever happened.
While others, they're still searching for answers, for some kind of closure.
And that's what's so powerful about these stories, right? They stay with us, make us question everything.
Absolutely. So as you think about this case, I want you to consider what really struck you.
Yeah, what resonates? What questions are still bouncing around in your head?
What does this whole thing say about us, about our obsession with true crime?
Heavy stuff.
It is, it is. But it's important to think about these things, to engage with these stories in a way that's both sensitive and critical.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Well, folks, that's another deep dive in the books. This case, it's definitely one for the ages, full of twists, turns, and lingering questions.
This certainly keeps you thinking.
It does. It does. Thanks for joining us. And as always, keep exploring, keep questioning, keep diving deep into the world around you.